It started as a digital ghost, a spectral anomaly buried so deep within the raw telemetry of the James Webb Space Telescope that it was never intended for human eyes. Initially, only a small circle of astronomers flagged the irregularity in the recurring data stream. It was a pattern that felt too exact, too rhythmic, and unnervingly artificial to be a product of natural chaos. It bore no resemblance to a cosmic dust flare, nor the final gasps of a dying star, and it certainly didn't match the signature of a comet. It was something entirely different, cold, precise, and terrifyingly calculated. The entity is designated as 3I Atlas, an interstellar visitor that had already begun to dismantle our understanding of physics. However, new leaks emerging from a classified observation run by the James Webb Telescope threatened to shatter everything we thought we understood about our place in the universe. If the implications of this data hold true, 3I Atlas is not merely another rock drifting through the abyss. It is an observer, and for the first time, the reality of its mission is seeping out from behind the curtain of government secrecy. When 3I Atlas first appeared on our sensors, the scientific community default was to categorize it as another interstellar comet, similar to the mysterious visitors Oumuamua and Borisov that had previously swung through our system before fading into the dark. Yet, 3I Atlas immediately distinguished itself by refusing to adhere to the standard behavioral models of celestial bodies. It wasn't just the speed or the angle of its approach that caused concern, it was the object's behavior. Unlike standard comets, which produce a distinct, visible coma of dust and water vapor as they react to the sun's heat, 3I Atlas defied the script. There was no tail, no water signature, and no visible coma. Instead, it was venting massive quantities of carbon dioxide while remaining spectrally silent in every other regard. To verify this, NASA utilized the Advanced Infrared Spectrometer on the Spherex Observatory, anticipating the usual signatures of water or carbon monoxide. The results were baffling: a complete absence of the expected chemicals, showing only pure carbon dioxide. This is a chemical profile that has never been recorded in the history of space observation. The question arose: what kind of natural object emits exclusively CO2? The unsettling answer is that, to our knowledge, none do. As public curiosity regarding the object intensified, NASA adopted an unusual posture of silence. However, shielding from the public eye, the James Webb Space Telescope, the most powerful infrared observatory ever built, was secretly commanded to lock its gaze on 3I Atlas on August 6, 2025. There were no press releases and no images shared with the world. But a leaked report from an internal analyst has since shed light on what the telescope likely saw: an object sans a natural coma, yet encased in a perfectly symmetrical halo of pure carbon dioxide stretching hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Even more alarming, the infrared data suggested distinct brightness that was not a reflection of solar energy, but rather a luminosity originating from within the object itself. The analysis indicated the presence of what looked like engineered photonic emissions, light structured for data transmission rather than thermal byproduct. The wavelengths appeared organized, repeating like a cosmic Morse code. Coupled with measurements indicating the object is a staggering 46 kilometers in diameter, statistically too massive to be a random intruder, the evidence points to two possibilities: either our astrophysics models are broken, or 3I Atlas was sent here intentionally. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of this visitor isn't its chemistry or its size, but its flight path. 3I Atlas did not tumble into our system on a chaotic, random trajectory like its predecessors. Instead, it entered in perfect alignment with the orbital plane of our planets, a navigational feat with a probability of occurring naturally estimated at only 1 in 500. It moved with the precision of a drone adhering to a flight plan, sweeping past Earth and other planets before diving deeper into the solar system. Prominent figures in astrophysics, including Avi Loeb, have noted that the trajectory is technologically suggestive. Loeb pointed out that the approach vector seemed calculated to maximize the window for observation from Earth-based and orbital monitoring systems, acting as if it intended to be seen but not fully comprehended. Furthermore, the object's origin point traces back to the Sagittarius constellation, the exact region of the sky where the famous "wow" signal originated in 1977, which remains the strongest candidate for extraterrestrial radio contact in history. The odds that the most baffling object ever to enter our system hails from the same location as our most famous unidentified signal are vanishingly small. As the data piled up, a theory historically reserved for science fiction began to gain traction within engineering circles. What if 3I Atlas is not a natural rock, but a technologically augmented vessel? The hypothesis suggests a massive asteroid from a distant star system could be hollowed out and retrofitted with sensors, machinery, or even habitation modules. By encasing technology in dense rock, the creators would provide shielding against cosmic radiation, while a thin outer layer designed to sublimate carbon dioxide would act as active camouflage, masking the internal heat signatures. To a distant observer, it would look like a space rock, unless one looked closely enough to see through the disguise. This concept of asteroid ships has been proposed by human scientists as a viable method for interstellar travel. The SphereX readings combined with the leaked James Webb findings imply that this might be more than just a concept. We may be staring at the real thing. The internal logs leaked from NASA reveal that what was initially dismissed as thermal flickering was actually a sophisticated modulation pattern. Upon breaking down the light curves, analysts found the pulses followed prime number sequences, a mathematical structure often cited by SETI researchers as the universal hallmark of intelligent contact. These were not random fluctuations, they were precise, beacon-like transmissions repeating across infrared bands. Most disturbing to the analysts was the discovery of a distinct, silent interval between these bursts, a pause that suggested the object was listening, waiting for a response. It wasn't just that we were observing 3I Atlas, the data suggested 3I Atlas was actively observing us in return. NASA's reaction was an immediate lockdown on the data, burying the story from the media. However, the military response was far less subtle. Following the leak regarding the light signatures, there was a sudden surge in satellite redirection orders affecting both NASA and ESA assets. These weren't routine calibration shifts. They came from defense agencies like NORAD and the US Space Force. Within just 48 hours of the internal leak, the secretive X-37B spaceplane was launched on an unannounced mission into a highly elliptical orbit that aligned with the projected path of 3I Atlas. The question remains: why would the military deploy its most classified asset to chase a rock? Defense briefings that have since surfaced indicate a new threat classification scheme: technological unknowns of extraterrestrial origin. The object was no longer a scientific curiosity. It had been elevated to a strategic concern warranting a potential interception or close-range reconnaissance. While the strategists planned, a faction of astrobiologists proposed a theory that blurs the line between technology and life. They hypothesized that 3I Atlas might be a biomechanical synthesis, a hybrid of machine and organism capable of surviving the vacuum of space and evolving over interstellar timeframes. This idea posits that the object is not just a probe sent by someone, but an autonomous entity that sent itself. If true, it possesses the agency to adapt to environmental feedback, choose its destination, and select systems to study. The implications are terrifying. We aren't tracking a lifeless ship, but something that can learn, evolve, and perhaps assimilate information from the civilizations it encounters. Recent modeling has identified a pattern in the object's timing that suggests a schedule. The pulses of data, the specific orbital alignments, and the trajectory corrections all hint that 3I Atlas is operating on a countdown. Independent astronomers have calculated that in just under 9 months, the object will interact with the asteroid belt, a maneuver requiring immense energy or gravitational manipulation. This event is believed to be Phase 3 of a 5-phase sequence, with the final phase coinciding with a precise alignment between Earth and Mars. The sudden silence from NASA and the aggressive maneuvering by the Space Force suggest that the authorities are aware that something significant is approaching. This suspicion was bolstered by unexplained technical failures. Shortly after James Webb locked onto the object, the Deep Space Network began to experience anomalies. Data streams from distant probes like New Horizons and Voyager 2 were interrupted simultaneously, with localized electromagnetic disturbances centered around the observation windows. It appeared as though the object was reacting to being watched. Engineers officially blamed solar interference, but the timing was too precise. The suppression of communications raised a harrowing possibility. If 3I Atlas can jam our deep space ears, it can control what we see and hear. Further proving its artificial nature, the object's path began to exhibit non-ballistic deviations. These were not the gentle drifts of a comet affected by gravity, they were sharp course corrections. Caltech scientists attempted to model these shifts naturally but failed. The most significant maneuver occurred on July 4, when the object snapped into an alignment pointing directly back to Luyten's star, a red dwarf system known to host a potentially habitable planet. If 3I Atlas originated there, and if it planned its route through our system to use our Sun for a gravity assist or observation run, then this is a mission that was planned decades, if not centuries, in advance. Perhaps the most disturbing leak came from a group of fringe biophysicists who analyzed the signal modulation. They identified frequency ratios within the data that mirrored the structure of human-compatible DNA, specifically, the helix-turn-helix motifs used in gene regulation. This biological logic gate hidden in the signal suggests the object isn't just saying, "I am here," but rather, "I know what you are." Before this finding could be peer-reviewed, federal agencies issued cease and desist orders citing national security. But the cat was out of the bag. The signal contained biological data. Embedded within the waveform of the infrared pulses was a countdown, decrypted not by NASA, but from the object's own transmissions. The message repeated a specific time frame, 283 Earth days remaining. This did not correlate with any natural solar event but aligned perfectly with a pattern established by Oumuamua and Borisov, a 7-year cycle of visitation, with each new object coming closer and displaying more complex behavior. 3I Atlas is seemingly the third scout in a long-term observation sequence, and the countdown indicates the arrival of something else. Visual analysis of the leaked Webb images also revealed a shadow trailing the object that shouldn't exist. It was a linear darkness that ignored the angle of the sun, suggesting the object was projecting its own anti-light, or manipulating the space behind it to create a self-shading effect. Whistleblowers classified it as a self-shading body, a term previously unknown to science. This suggests manipulation of physics that goes far beyond simple propulsion. Even after 3I Atlas passed beyond visual range behind the sun, the story didn't end. Deep in the background noise, astronomers found a recurring signal matching the hydrogen line, the universal frequency of physics. The pulse repeated every 12 hours and 3 minutes, syncing eerily with Earth's magnetic rotation. Cross-referencing this with historical data revealed that Voyager 1 had detected this exact pattern in 1996, dismissed then as static. Now, it appears the signal has been present for decades, growing stronger as the object approached, behaving as if it were homing in on a beacon. The final piece of the puzzle came from a software engineer who mapped the object's core emissions against star charts. The heat signatures weren't random. They formed a map of the Triangulum galaxy, nearly 3 million light-years away, with a trajectory loop that connected explicitly to Earth. This suggests 3I Atlas is an intergalactic traveler, mapping a path across the void. Despite the official narrative dismissing it as debris, the panic within the highest levels of the scientific and military communities is palpable. Sources hint that the prevailing theory behind closed doors is one of non-human cognition, that 3I Atlas is a physical manifestation of an alien mind, utilizing quantum entanglement to perceive us. So, what did the James Webb Telescope truly witness? It did not see a random comet or a confused asteroid. It saw an anomaly that defied motion, emission, and physics. It stared into the void, and the void stared back with intent. If 3I Atlas is indeed a probe, a signal, or a consciousness, then the act of observing it has triggered the next phase of its protocol. The countdown is ticking, a map has been drawn, and the silence of the governing bodies speaks louder than any press conference. The question has shifted from, "What is it?" to, "Why us? And why now?" If the leaked data from James Webb is accurate, this object isn't just passing through our system. It is the precursor to an arrival.